It's already more than halfway through 2025, and wow, the games this year so far have knocked our socks off. Ring the bell, smash the like button, bless the YouTube algorithm because we have a stacked list for you. So many games are coming out in the fall, but this year so far has slayed. When I made this, there were so many really solid games. 2025 so far is just crazy as a whole, and we have 15 games to talk about, so strap in. At number 15, Monster Hunter Wilds. With the Monster Hunter series, you generally know what you're getting at this point, but there are still plenty of surprises. And this latest entry, Monster Hunter Wilds, is one of the biggest. It has the most to see and do, and the most surprising elements. You don't even have to be a superfan to necessarily appreciate this stuff. It has gotten plenty of new players on board with Monster Hunter. There's also just the monsters themselves, with the new ones being some of the freakiest, wildest, and strangest creatures yet. And of course, some of them are very, very difficult, even if they're just weird. Some of them are intimidating, and some of them, like I said, just freak me out. But that means it's doing the job right. With the many awesome weapon varieties and ways to play, along with the alternative armors that give you different abilities or recovery tricks, there's just a lot of depth, as well as perfect world design and masterful music. Of course, there's some wonky performance, and some players may need a bit more patience if they're not used to the Monster Hunter formula, but Monster Hunter Wilds is really something else, and seems to keep going bigger and crazier with the things they've done. And yes, they have plans to keep Monster Hunter Wilds updated and continue to support it for the next couple of years, so it's only going to get bigger and better, becoming even more of a staple for fans. It's already a huge game in 2025. Hopefully, it only continues to grow. And number 14, Assassin's Creed Shadows. The big Assassin's Creed game in 2025 is Shadows, set in feudal Japan, and it's something that a lot of us have been waiting for years and years. It's an excellent time period for any type of media, movies, games, whatever. And with Assassin's Creed Shadows, we get a lot of that. All the things you like from Assassin's Creed. All that delicious melodrama, a couple of twists and turns, the fun historic stuff, but also the over-the-top crazy Assassin's Creed stuff. But there are also some modern elements with infiltration, taking out targets, and running around. It is the ultimate Hollywood version of an Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan, and that is absolutely a compliment. There are also some cool new elements here, like the changing of the seasons, which affect how each location in the world really work, 2 protagonists, big plot twists, and some pretty fun combat. It's a big, silly, exciting Ubisoft game, and you pretty much know what you're getting, but again, this is the type of thing that we've been waiting for a long time. There are some nitty-gritty elements that are still being fine-tuned, some world map issues, a couple of plot points I had questions about, but as a big open-world adventure game, Assassin's Creed Shadows is massive. I mean, if you're downloading this thing, it is massive, but all that room is put to good use. There's also plenty of little details and features for completionists or people looking for more gameplay and more challenges. It's just an absolute giant package and seems to be kicking off a new era of Assassin's Creed. Honestly, this big honkin' game is totally what fans were looking for. Next at number 13, we have Dynasty Warriors Origins, which came to the PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on January 17th, 2025. Now, it was kind of unclear if this was Dynasty Warriors 10 or if they snagged the Spider-Man format and rebooted. Clear and obvious change and direction here. Rather than continuing on, they showed us the origins of the time of the Three Kingdoms. It introduced a protagonist called the Wanderer. He was an amnesiac, he got involved with all the different stuff, and you could side with key figures like Liu Bei, Cao Cao, Sun Jian, and totally alter the outcome of everything with his magical mystical powers of wanting to know who the hell he was. It gave you multiple routes and stuff. Let me just say, I wasn't the biggest Dynasty Warriors guy in the world, but that sounded real cool. I would have played that game no matter who you stuck into it. The combat was the Musou battle, 1,000 people you needed to beat up at once type stuff, but it was beefed up by the new hardware. They said they could display up to 10,000 dudes on screen on modern hardware, underlining heavy-handed Duke Nukem. They also said it was an action game, but also a strategy game. It gave you some pretty cool things you could do, like command your allies, issue orders, and unleash grand tactics, as they called them. Again, they sounded cool. It sounded like they went in a more interactive, cinematic direction, but also just really amped up the amount of dudes that were going to be on the screen. Dynasty Warriors Origins is already hitting hard, and you should definitely check it out. And number 12 was Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which came out on February 4th for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. It was difficult to describe how big of a step forward from the previous Kingdom Come game this was. Kingdom Come was always a good-looking game, but Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was like another level in every way. Gameplay, visual fidelity, graphics, particle effects, the amount of stuff on screen, it was all just a massive improvement over the original game, and let's just be frank, if you liked the original game, this was huge. We absolutely did, so Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 kinda stole our hearts. Like, for such a massive, technically advanced game, you were just kind of stunned by it, but the main goal of what it was doing was actually keeping you immersed, and it did that too, which was a credit to the folks who made it because it was not easy to do that. Kingdom Come was meant to be a realistic role-playing game, but not realistic to the point where, like, you had one-hit kills and things like that. You still had a health bar, but things were meant to feel like what they actually sort of were like. And it did a really good job of increasing the fidelity and doing a better job of parsing all that stuff to you as the player. It also improved the said mechanics, role-playing mechanics, sword fighting, all of it. And it continued one of the more interesting stories in role-playing games. Whether you're a fan of the first game or new to the series, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is well worth playing.
68. Elodie's expedition.
You know the commanders of every expedition.
And number 11 is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This game came out for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. So this is maybe the best playing role-playing game out there. It's kind of unfair how fantastic the combat system is compared to other games. Not as a knock on them, a lot of them actually play a lot better than other games from their series have previous, but Clair Obscur is just kind of on another level. It is extremely unique, really mixes up every turn-based RPG cliche that is developed over the years, even including some real-time combat mechanics in the turn-based system. You get quick-time events that elevate RPG's attacks and abilities, more of a stamina-based system than you usually see in games like this. You can break enemies, which stuns them for a period of time. It's got a lot of fast-paced action elements, but described that way, it sounds like it's not very strategic, but this is an extremely strategic game. Rather than having things based on having the correct stuff and crew and all that, that stuff matters, but it's more about your timing because of how the real-time stuff is implemented. It's very rare for a game to keep everything I like about turn-based combat, and Clair Obscur does that and add more stuff that I wouldn't have been like, oh, I need that in a turn-based RPG, but I've played it now, and yes, I mark that as a, hey, this can improve a turn-based RPG. It's a marvel of a game, honest. Like, yeah, the art design's unique and it's doing something very different, to be frank. It's a good game in every way, but the combat system is just on another planet from every other turn-based RPG you're gonna play. Coming in next is Doom: The Dark Ages. This is just one of the best games to come out of 2025 in my opinion. Some people have some complaints about the length, the ratio of cutscenes versus action, but I think a lot of people came together on just the fact that a logical follow-up to the brilliant Doom Eternal was inevitably going there. It tackles more of the lore, the history of Doomguy, while keeping him cool. I think it strikes a really fine balance between being an excellent shooter/action FPS campaign with just great moments of action and some really crazy set pieces, but also just the lore, the story, the characters. We usually really like when id Software games have another character to kind of tell the story through, and with the Dark Ages here, they do it once again, and it's really compelling. Still goes for that awesome kind of fast-paced, high-speed action, although maybe not as crazy speed as Doom 2016 or Eternal, but still, some of the new mechanics like throwing shield and the ability to pilot an awesome badass mech or an awesome badass dragon is sick. A pretty meaty package overall. Doom: The Dark Ages, speaking of meaty, is definitely a game to check out. If we're talking about the best games of this year, this one is definitely a contender that shouldn't be ignored.
Your codename for this mission will be Naked Snake. I'll be referring to you as Snake from now on.
Next over at number 9, we have Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. This was a really pleasant surprise. I know a lot of people were super skeptical. Everyone is skeptical about everything Konami does these days, so I get it, but they did it. They pulled it off. Metal Gear Solid 3 is and always will be one of the coolest games ever, and Delta is just that game, but better. Now, I know it doesn't feature a lot of the key people on the original team, and while I still have my gripes about what happened with Konami and Hideo Kojima, that is a different story for a different day. What matters here is that they made a version of the game that pretty much adds in real controls. Now you play the game with the sophisticated smoothness of Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, except now you're playing the legendary Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. The controls are true third-person action, stealth, and the graphics got a nice bump up. Some fans love, and some fans are mixed on. Honestly, what shines though is how the game preserves everything from the original. It feels the way it should. It sounds the way it should. All the gameplay sequences and just fun stuff you can do, it's all still here, which is a win. Metal Gear Solid, this is great to introduce newer players who maybe weren't around in 2004. But for older fans like me who wants to go back, it's also the best, newest way to play. So pretty much everybody wins, and hopefully the rest of the franchise gets this treatment. It doesn't necessarily need it. The quality of life stuff, the control improvements in Delta were really important, but if the rest of these games got this facelift, oh boy, we'd be living good. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater launched August 28th. Next at number 8, it's Death Stranding 2 On the Beach. Hideo Kojima really did it again here. I know the first Death Stranding was divisive, the term Strand-type game became a meme, and the game certainly wasn't for everyone. If you thought it was more of a walking simulator than an actual game, well, Death Stranding 2, that took the criticism to heart, and it has way more things to do and gameplay systems to engage with from the jump. It also doesn't take its time getting going. The story ramps up right away, the graphics are phenomenal as expected, and by the end of the first act, you have a lot of ways to get things done. And then it just keeps going and giving you even more ways to build stuff and move around the environment in even cooler ways than the first game. The core loop of Death Stranding is same as it continues, because what Death Stranding was all about and Death Stranding 2 is all about, it's traversal. It's surviving harsh environments and kind of figuring out how to help deliver things, rebuild the world, and connect to people. All while enemies, ghosts, and Kojima's especially wacky plot happens all around you. The story here ends up being really compelling despite how weird and convoluted it is. But it's really the gameplay and the world that keep this thing going for another 50 plus hours. Even if the boss fights at the end don't really land for everyone as hard as the things Hideo Kojima is kind of known for, the payoffs here are still incredible. And the journey is just so interesting and unique. Death Stranding 2 is a must-play, especially if you enjoyed the first game.
Wait, hold the door! That was close.
Coming in next, it's Split Fiction, the fourth major release from developer Hazelight. These guys released A Way Out, It Takes Two with EA, and now Split Fiction. Another unique, one-of-a-kind co-op only game, and it really works. The cool thing here is that there's online co-op with a buddy pass, meaning as long as one of you owns the game, you can invite a friend who doesn't own the game and still play through the story together from start to finish, the full game, which is awesome. Split Fiction tells a story of two authors who have their ideas and creativity stolen by an evil corporation, and the two then end up trapped in their stories that they wrote and have to escape. The setup here is awesome and makes for so many cool level ideas and design changes throughout. It's a pretty decently long game while keeping things fresh, which we really appreciate. Adjusting from platforming to monster escaping to piloting a spaceship really quick, stuff like that. It's beautiful, it's vibrant, it's a ton of fun to play through, and you have that with all these unique mechanics. It's just fun, man. I really don't have any other word for it. What's really great is that, like some of Hazelight's other games, it's a game within a game within another game. Just a ton of gameplay ideas smushed into a cool story meetup, just like what they did in It Takes Two. It's really, really sick. If you're creative, you will really appreciate this thing. Split Fiction is now available on current gen consoles and PC.
I was given a chance.
Can you work?
And I chose to take it.
Next, over at number 6, we have Mafia: The Old Country. This is the new Mafia game that takes things in a really interesting direction, bringing us way back to the origins of the Mafia legend, even further back than the 1920s, like the original Mafia game. Here in the Old Country, you'll, of course, be in Italy in the early 1900s. You'll be playing as Enzo, a young man working in a mine, looking to get out, but when an incident in the mine forces him to escape and cross paths with the wrong people, he suddenly finds himself wrapped up in the Mafia life. We get to see all the origins of what you know as the mob here. A lot of things are done differently at this point in the timeline, but what's owed, how people do business, rules are rules. It's all still here, kind of. And it's fun spending time in this world if you're a fan of all of the pop culture around this stuff. What's important is that Mafia: The Old Country is the best looking Mafia game yet. The visuals of the big, beautiful Italian countryside are great. The characters are really interesting, and the world building pulls you in. Cool storytelling touches, strong performances, a solid story, and even interesting infographic style details keep you engaged. Of course, not all of the gameplay here is perfect, but the storytelling really makes up for it. The team at Hangar 13 did a fantastic job with this one. The ending was especially strong. It had me glued to the TV thinking, are they really doing this? I honestly wasn't sure how they were going to wrap it all up, but they absolutely pulled it off, and it was a great time.
There is no easy path from here, for you or any of us.
Next, over at number 5, we have Avowed, the first big Xbox exclusive release of the year. This game from Obsidian brings the history and fantasy world from Pillars of Eternity into first-person RPG action mode. It feels similar to Skyrim. In it, you take on the role of an Aedirn Empire official, the Envoy, who's tasked with investigating the mysterious Dream Scourge ravaging the living lands. Now, Avowed has a lot of choice, role-playing, moral decision-making, cool stuff. It can feel a little old school with refreshingly big dialogue trees, quest choices, and paths you can choose. There's a lot of companions with different role-playing elements and cool skills. And then on the other side of things, the combined melee combat and spell casting, or some combination thereof, is really fun and pretty hardcore for some classic first-person melee stuff. It could be an adjustment compared to other modern games, but Avowed is definitely unique, and while it doesn't hit the heaviest of fantasy notes when exploring, it's definitely a game for people who have been missing some of these types of games. While not as huge feeling as the Elder Scrolls games, there are plenty of large maps to explore, and towns and hidden dungeons and everything in between. It's a great cross between the fun, casual RPG and the more hardcore RPG for building that character, leveling up, and making big choices about the world. Avowed is a ton of fun.
You're a weaver, aren't you?
Now at number 4, we have another Xbox exclusive, South of Midnight. This was released in April. It's a third-person action-adventure game from the makers of We Happy Few. It has a really incredible stop-motion visual style that popped right from the initial trailer that we got, and it definitely follows through. You take the role of Hazel Flood, a character pulled into a southern gothic fantasy reality where folklore creatures come to life, and you're becoming a weaver to battle monsters known as Haints, and save your mom from a legendary creature. It's a crazy concept that works because of the story's depth and mystery, the interesting characters Hazel encounters along the way, and the cool, weird visual style. And of course, the fun gameplay. There's a lot of jumping and platforming and exploring around these wild scenarios and areas you come across, and the battles are really intense, satisfying, third-person action-adventure stuff. It plays really good, it feels silky smooth, and it's just a wild, wild time. This is one of the most distinct and original looking games of the year. It looks so different from anything else out right now. And on top of just looking cool, the gameplay actually backs it up. And there's a lot of compelling characters and cool little moments there. South of Midnight, at first glance, kind of feels like it's coming out of nowhere, but it is definitely, in our opinion, one of the best games of 2025 so far. Now at number 3, we have Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. This is a standalone expansion to Infinite Wealth, taking place 6 months later, and it is as insane and awesome as it sounds. Only Ryuga Gotoku Studios would get away with naming a game this. As longtime fans of the Yakuza games, we absolutely love it. This one puts players in control of the legendary fan favorite Goro Majima, who has somehow found himself and been stranded on some remote islands in Hawaii. After meeting up with a kid who just happens to be a huge fan of pirates, the two outfit a new pirate ship and get ready for high seas adventure. You know, that old thing. While exploring, remember to switch those combat styles because this does have an old school kind of Yakuza feel, meaning the combat's not turn-based, it's good old proper Yakuza. We just love all the different gameplay styles this studio does. Here you get 2 styles, Mad Dog, which is classic Majima melee beatdowns with blades, and you also get Sea Dog for some dual swords and pistols, that's right. And it really just changes up the open hand style in a great new way. It's silly on paper, but really the closer is the story, which is as epic and melodramatic and weird as it gets, especially from the main studio team. It's the perfect little pirate pocket Yakuza adventure. We love this game so much. It's bite-sized by Yakuza standards and honestly cannot recommend it enough. Even if you're not a big fan or follower of everything they put out, this one is just fun. At number 2, we have Donkey Kong Bonanza. Donkey Kong's back, and this time he's building on what Super Mario Odyssey did best in this EPD Tokyo game. Bonanza here has massive open world maps and destructible environments as you play an adventure in the Grand Hollow underground. Adventuring with Donkey Kong is just plain fun. You've got a lot of satisfying powers, abilities, maneuvers at his disposal. Pillaging, ripping the world apart, and a cool new transformation system that switches it up and gives him new powers even more so, and that's awesome. And when you find new upgrades, it really does shake up traversal in every single biome you adventure through, you know? Whether it's an underground world, or a lava world, or a gold world, or a tropical area, you name it. It's really fun in that classic Nintendo way. and the destructible environments makes it feel a little extra special. You're doing the Donkey Kong thing, rampaging through forests and jungles. It's incredibly satisfying. And then there are little touches, like some 2D side-scrolling things, minecart things, some great music, a photo mode, and 2-player game share co-op. Really, if you love Nintendo games, Bonanza is kind of a no-brainer, especially if you're a Switch 2 owner, because it's one of the best exclusives for the console.
The will to cross the endless night and fight on.
Now at number 1, Elden Ring Night Rain. I shouldn't even have to explain this one. This was highly anticipated ever since it was announced in December 2024. Of course, coming from developers From Software, Night Rain acts as a spin-off of their previous hit Elden Ring, but this time focusing on co-op hardcore roguelike mechanics. It exploded when it dropped in late May, and it pretty much took the industry by storm for a little bit there. Taking place in where else but the realms of Limgrave, it has a whole new dynamic as there's this eternal night spreading across the land that needs to be stopped. Essentially, roguelike mechanics and co-op mechanics are combined in very interesting ways. Maps are still procedurally generated, you still got new characters that are kind of persistent, and deadly bosses lurking at the end of every day are endlessly fun, albeit challenging and entertaining as hell. And of course, it has all the little hardcore bits you'd expect from these developers. Everything from upgrading weapons, crafting armor, shielding yourself, teamwork, and of course beating the hell out of those monsters. It's really satisfying. The progression loop is good, the graphics are great, and it expands the Elden Ring lore in really interesting ways. Not enough games do this really cool thing. That's why Elden Ring Night Rain is a bit of a celebration. It gives us live as service elements, it gives us some multiplayer badass stuff, while also giving us a good single-player experience. It's a win-win. Now, those are 15 new games of 2025 so far that we think are worth playing. Of course, there are a lot more games, especially some of the games that are coming this month. But anyway, let us know what your favorite games from 2025 are so far.